Listen up. This one's gonna leave you with chills long after it's over. It's the 1980s in Los Angeles. Maxine Minx, a young aspiring actress, walks down dimly lit streets, fresh from another audition. The city is haunted by a killer on the loose. But Maxine's only concern is chasing her dream. A shadow lurks just out of sight, and tonight, everything changes. Maxine came to Hollywood with nothing but a suitcase and big dreams. Born in a small town, she always believed the city of stars held her future. Her childhood was filled with visions of fame and fortune. She would spend hours in front of the mirror, rehearsing lines from her favorite movies, imagining herself in the glamorous life of a Hollywood star. But those dreams never prepared her for the cold reality of rejection. In LA, the competition is fierce. Maxine has been to more auditions than she can count. But the doors keep slamming shut in her face. Still, she pushes on. Nothing will distract her from her big break. She tells herself, the city is full of dangers. But I didn't come here to live in fear. Meanwhile, news of the Night Stalker spreads like wildfire. The radio hosts talk about him every morning, warning people to lock their doors and windows at night. The papers splash his terrifying face across the front page, each day revealing more grisly details about his latest victims. People in Maxine's neighborhood are locking their doors earlier, and the streets grow quieter by the day. Families are leaving the city, and landlords are struggling to find new tenants willing to live in such dangerous times. But Maxine stays focused on her career, rehearsing her lines late into the night. She hears the footsteps outside her window sometimes, but she convinces herself they're just the sounds of the city. One Friday evening, after yet another failed audition, Maxine feels the weight of defeat pressing down on her like never before. She's walking home, the streets darker than usual. Her footsteps echo through the empty alleyways, and the city feels unusually silent, the kind of silence that creeps into your bones. Then, the sensation hits her. You know that feeling you get when someone is watching you? It's as though a pair of eyes are boring into the back of her neck. She looks over her shoulder, and her heart skips a beat. A figure stands at the end of the street, completely still, staring right at her. Her breath quickens, panic sets in. Is this the Night Stalker? The man everyone's been talking about for months. Without waiting to find out, Maxine starts walking faster, her pulse racing. As she picks up speed, so does the figure. She doesn't dare turn around again. Panic floods her body, and she bolts the rest of the way home. Her keys fumble in her shaking hands as she struggles to unlock the door. Finally, she gets inside, slams the door shut, and locks it behind her. She stands there, her back against the door, heart pounding in her chest. Outside, the footsteps stop. The next morning, Maxine wakes up to blaring sirens and the sound of neighbors murmuring outside. Her window, she turns on the radio. Another body has been found, just blocks away from Maxine's apartment. The realization hits her like a ton of bricks. She was that close. That could have been her. But instead of retreating into fear, something strange happens. Maxine is thrust into the spotlight. Reporters, casting directors, and film studios suddenly show an interest in the girl who survived. It's a media frenzy. Everyone wants to know her story. She's invited to talk shows, auditions, and interviews. For the first time, Maxine feels like she's on the verge of becoming a star. But something feels off. Her newfound fame doesn't bring her peace. The Night Stalker is still out there. And while she's being hailed as the lucky one who got away, she can't shake the feeling that he's not done with her. Maxine's nights are now filled with nightmares. She dreams of being stalked, of seeing that figure in the street again. Only this time, in her dreams, she doesn't make it home. The line between her real life and the roles, she's playing in horror films starts to blur. In one scene, she plays a woman running from a killer. It feels too familiar. She stands in front of the camera, reenacting that terrifying night, but something is wrong. The fear feels real this time. It's no longer just acting. As the cameras roll, she looks around, and suddenly, it's no longer a set. The lights flicker, the crew disappears, and she's standing alone in the street. The same street from that night. Her heart pounds in her chest as she turns around. And there he is again, standing just a few feet away, watching her. Is it a hallucination, a dream, or has the Night Stalker returned? Maxine survived to tell her story, but deep down, she knows the danger hasn't truly passed. She's starting to wonder if the fame she worked so hard for it is really a curse in disguise. The more famous she becomes, the more paranoid she gets. Every time she steps outside, she feels eyes on her. The Night Stalker is still out there. And she knows he always finishes what he starts. It only takes a second to feel the chills. Follow for more.